Last confession. A tall yet shabbily dressed figure sat alone in a booth in a New York diner. He wore a gray trench coat, dirty and creased, under which was a sweat-soiled shirt. He was pouring sugar from the sugar dispenser into a cold cup of coffee, which had stood undrunk for 40 minutes. It was a cup of coffee destined to remain undrunk. Debbie noticed the strange character but paid him little attention as she folded her morning paper and concentrated on a style column. This was her routine each day: up at 6:30 a.m., breakfast at the diner in her favorite booth, then the metro to the office. She dreaded it. She hated her job but always seemed to find a reason not to just quit and take up something new. Something more fulfilling. The overly bright halogen lighting of the diner created a sterile atmosphere, like a hospital theater. There was little chatter amongst the customers, most sat alone, eating, drinking, and staring at newspapers. The shabbily dressed man was now stirring the cold cup of coffee rhythmically. He didn't appear to have any agenda for being there, his hollow gray eyes fixed on a distant object. Debbie suddenly started to feel a strange feeling, like she was being watched. She looked up from her paper and realized that the man was staring at her. She noticed his lifeless yet bloodshot gray eyes that looked like they hadn't seen sleep in a long time, and his pale white hands stirring, his fingers thin and elegant, almost feminine. Flustered by the unwanted gaze, she ruffled her newspaper and pretended not to notice the man's stare. Suddenly the rhythmic stirring ceased, and the long thin fingers put down the plastic spoon on the pristine white tabletop, staining it with a drip of black coffee. The man got up, edged out of the seat, and approached Debbie's booth. "Can I sit here?" the man asked in a low, almost robotic voice, a voice that didn't seem to come from a living, breathing human. Debbie looked up from her paper at the man. He looked very creepy, like a vagrant. "It's okay," she said, gathering up her bag and paper. "I'm leaving." The man moved quickly, like a draft of cold air, and was suddenly sat right next to Debbie, forcing her into the corner of the booth, behind the pillar, out of the line of sight of the counter. She felt something prodding her in her side. "You're not going anywhere," the voice whispered. Debbie froze in terror, a million thoughts rushing through her head at once. "Don't scream, don't move, or I'll kill you," he said calmly, no hint of emotion. Debbie was terrified. She stared ahead at the pillar, scared to move, almost too scared to breathe. Both sat at the table, looking directly ahead, no eye contact, no sound. Finally, Debbie's captor broke the ice. "I suppose you're wondering what this is all about, aren't you?" the man stated, rather than asked. Debbie said nothing, still staring blankly ahead, trying to figure out how she had managed to find herself in this situation. There were hardly any people in the diner now, most having left to begin the daily commute. Nobody to help. After a few seconds' silence, the man resumed his speech. "Well, I'll tell you. You can probably guess that I've killed people, lots of people. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it's a lot. Lots of faces, but I can't really remember them clearly," he said. Debbie was still frozen with fear, too scared to move an inch. Maybe someone will come in, she thought, or rather hoped. Maybe the waitress will ask us if we want more coffee. But it was hopeless. Teresa was waitressing. Debbie could see her reflection in the plastic-coated menu, slouching at the counter, reading a magazine. Debbie had been eating in this diner 3 years, and Teresa was the laziest she'd ever come across. A man in a check shirt came in and sat at the counter, and Debbie contemplated screaming. "I know what you're thinking," her captor said, a chill running up Debbie's spine. "You think I'm crazy," he added, a wave of relief washing over Debbie's fraught nerves. "Maybe I am. But then again, this world is enough to drive anyone crazy. Anyway, we're getting off the point," he continued, like he was anchoring a news program. Debbie noticed that despite his scruffy appearance, he was well-spoken and articulate. "Ironically, the reason I'm holding a switchblade to your ribs is that I'm done killing. I'm wishing to make a confession." Debbie swallowed hard. "I wanted to confess to someone, not the police, not a priest. I'm not seeking to turn myself in or gain forgiveness from God. I just want someone to know what I did. Do you understand?" he said again in his soft, yet emotionless manner. Yes. Debbie said in a whisper, lying through her teeth. Debbie just wanted it over. She just wanted this psycho out of her life, forever. Good. Because I'm going to give you a list of names. The ones I remember. Debbie was filled with a feeling of dread. I'm telling you all this because soon I will be dead. I want you to remember my name. It's Anthony Capuzzo. Capuzzo. Debbie swallowed. I have killed a lot of people. I'm a very sick man. Totally beyond help. I know the only way to stop is to kill myself. But if I do that, no one will know what I did. No one will know who I killed. But I must die. Do you understand? He said coldly. Yes. Debbie said without moving, still completely terrified. I picked you totally at random. I'm sorry it had to be you, but there it is. But take comfort from the fact that if we'd met under different circumstances it would have been much worse. Debbie felt a twisting in her guts as she imagined the horror. The man reached into his pocket and casually pulled out a folded piece of notepaper. He unfolded it and set it down on the white table in front of Debbie. Tell the police to search apartment 34B. West 50th Street. Look directly ahead, close your eyes and count to 100. Move before that and you will die. With that he got up and after placing a $5 bill on the counter next to Teresa, calmly walked out of the diner. Debbie sat terrified, staring straight ahead at the pillar. 97, 98, 99, 100. Debbie paused for a further few seconds before reluctantly and tentatively opening her eyes. Total relief washed over her as she realized he was gone. She couldn't believe what had happened to her. The note lay there on the tabletop, staring at her, the names crying out to her from the page. She felt sick, her heart still racing, scared, confused, violated. She just wanted to forget all about it, but she knew she never could. Not now she was involved. She silently cursed the name Anthony Capuzzo. She knew her life was changed forever. Debbie was now on autopilot, getting up from her seat, reaching for her purse. She picked up the list and Capuzzo's $5 bill. She could almost feel it radiating evil. You okay, Debbie? Said Teresa, still leaning lazily against the counter. Debbie didn't reply, she just put the $5 bill on the counter and left the diner. She knew what she had to do. At first the cops had thought she was crazy, a crank. But the terror she'd felt in the presence of Anthony Capuzzo made her story compelling to the lieutenant and finally, she'd been taken seriously. A police search of apartment 34B West 50th Street had confirmed the story. It had then taken over 2 hours to finish her statement, after which she was seen by a doctor, prescribed some sedatives and driven home in a squad car. You don't have to worry about a thing. The detective said. This Capuzzo guy is dead. He can't hurt anyone anymore. You'll be safe. We'll need to talk to you again in the morning. Try to get some rest. Inside her apartment, Debbie was sat on her sofa, covered in a blanket, watching the news. Today the body of Anthony Capuzzo was found in an apartment in West 50th Street, an apparent suicide. He was believed to be an undiagnosed psychotic whose killing spree went undetected for over a decade. He has so far been linked with murders dating back to 1989. The final number of victims remains unknown at this time, but all appear to be of Hispanic descent. Police records reveal that Capuzzo served 3 years in a correctional facility for theft before being released in July 2000. An unnamed female is believed to be helping the police with their investigation. Debbie switched off the TV, opened the box of sedatives and swallowed 2 pills. She knew that as soon as she closed her eyes, she would be hearing the names of all those people, killed in horrible, horrible ways. The thoughts and images of their terrifying deaths would haunt her dreams. As she slowly drifted off to sleep, she cursed the name Anthony Capuzzo.